City Center Radio. It is episode 272, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Thursday, July 5th, 2024. I hope your Independence Day was a good one. You got to enjoy some good old American food, maybe something cooked on the grill, some Independence Day fireworks. I hope you had a lot of fun, whatever you chose to do. And I do hope that your neighborhood was quiet at an appropriate time so you could get some sleep. And I also hope your pets were not too disturbed. I know it can be a very tough day for them. I'm recording this before the festivities really kick off. I'm not planning on going out, but I'm sure I'll hear plenty of booms throughout the evening. I was already hearing them before the 4th of July, so I suspect that will continue. The only other thing on a personal level that I did, I decided, hey, it's 4th of July. Jack's Cosmic Dogs is just down the street a little bit. I got to go get some hot dogs. So enjoyed my visit to Jack's Cosmic out on James Island. Had them several times over the years, but they somewhat recently popped up on James Island in the former home of the Sweetwater Cafe. And it's just like if you've ever had it before, it's just like the other locations. I think they've added a few things over the years. This one has some more like soft serve and ice cream options that I don't remember from the older locations, but perhaps I'm just not remembering correctly. But it was great to be there and pick up some hot dogs, enjoy that, feel like a real American celebration. In any event, I hope you all had fun, as I mentioned before. And if you haven't been to Jack's ever or in a while, be sure to stop by. It's still just as tasty as you remember. But with that, let's get into the news. The city of North Charleston has put its own internal review of a $1.3 million anti-violence program on hold because they were alerted that the FBI is actually investigating the initiative as well. What that means for now is that leaders of 13 grassroots organizations that each received $100,000 to help curb gun violence won't see another round of taxpayer money, at least for the time being, as this investigation goes on. Now, I want to say right here at the top, there's not a ton of details about what exactly is being investigated or why, just that the program is being investigated. So, I'm going to talk about some details here in a moment, but when it comes to what exactly is being looked at, it's not entirely clear, but I would imagine has something to do with financials that they're looking into, just based on the context, that the local media seems to be putting out there. So just want to put that out, that we don't really know exactly what's being looked at. I would think finances is a good guess, though. In any event, District 4 Councilwoman Charmaine Palmer Roberts said that the city has paused its own review just a day after the Post and Courier first reported that federal agents had launched their own inquiry. And as I mentioned, it's unclear not just what they're looking at. It's also, we're not sure when exactly the FBI launched its inquiry. And we don't know if this investigation only pertains to this anti-violence initiative or to possibly other city dealings as well. So still a whole lot that is up in the air. And part of that reason is because an FBI spokesperson said that the agency can't confirm or deny the existence of an investigation. That's what they officially said to the Post and Courier, although, as I said, they already had enough evidence to go to print saying that there is an investigation without the FBI officially confirming it. Now, this announcement, at least of the probe, we don't really know when it began, but this announcement comes 6 months after a Post and Courier investigation found that there was not a whole lot of oversight and a lack of strategy that was hampering the works of this initiative. And for those wondering, the whole point of this program, it was an attempt to reduce gun violence across North Charleston, which is South Carolina's third largest city, and it came in the wake of an uptick in shootings. Now, Mayor Reggie Burgess said that reporting alerted him to possible improvements, including hiring a third party to manage the grant program, ensuring nonprofits are regularly attending meetings with police officers, and submitting frequent reports to city council. So after that initial Post and Courier report saying there wasn't a lot of oversight, the mayor of North Charleston is saying some of those things were then implemented or changed. Burgess told a reporter from the Post and Courier late on July 2nd that he planned to push to renew funding for the program despite these investigations. Meanwhile, former North Charleston Police Chief Greg Gomes says he was contacted by the FBI on Friday and was asked to retain all documentation related to the gun violence reduction grant program. The former police chief said it was the first time he'd been contacted about the matter, excuse me. So again, the program it seems based on reporting and sounds like the former police chief, is confirming the FBI is looking at least that program. Don't know exactly why, and don't know if other city dealings are involved. But that is what was, in the news as we got into the weekend. As there's updates on that, we'll surely let you know. Meanwhile, in political news, Michael B. Moore, who won the closely contested Democratic primary in South Carolina's first congressional district in June, on Thursday, called on President Joe Biden to withdraw from the 2024 race for the White House. So we didn't really talk about it. There was a presidential debate. Didn't go well, really, for either candidate. But most of the talk was about the current president, Joe Biden, having a shaky performance. His voice sounded weak. He had a moment early on where he stumbled pretty poorly. And there's been some talk about, should he, continue to run? Should he step down, et cetera, et cetera. And so Michael B. Moore became one of the few Democrats. Granted, he's not currently an elected Democrat, but one of the few that are openly calling for him to step down. Now, I can't speak for how it was received, period. I can only go by what I saw in the comments of his announcement, which was on Twitter. It did not go well. All the comments were they were criticizing him for making that call, saying you're buying into this narrative that's out there and isn't really true, that this only helps get Donald Trump elected. He is a far bigger danger than a president who, might be shaky sometimes when he speaks. And so the comments did not go well for them. I even saw some that were saying they're withdrawing their donations to his campaign, or that they would no longer be voting for him. But the people who I did see say that didn't say they were going to vote for Trump. They said they were going to do like a write-in, or they were going to go for a third-party candidate. So it's Twitter, it's the internet. It doesn't mean that that's real life. Some of those people I do know and believe the comments they left, since I know them personally. But a lot, I have no idea who they are. Some of these are profiles they don't have real names. Who knows if these people even live in the district and are really going to vote? These could just be people from wherever. So who knows? So just take the comments with a grain of salt. Now, that is to say that there are people who believe those comments that that I just mentioned, for sure. But then there's plenty of people that think Biden should step down as well. So it's interesting that he took this opportunity to instead of backing the president, who, by the way, said on Wednesday through his spokesperson for the White House communications director, rather, that he is 100% in the race. He's not dropping out. He's all in. So it seems even more curious that he makes that call the day after. Usually the parties rally around each other. But hey, we complain about how politics can be tribal, and everyone always goes for their same team. So there is something to be said for someone who has a personal belief, and although it's not the party line necessarily, and he went out there and did it. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out for him. It's going to be tough for him to win anyways, going against the incumbent, Nancy Mace. Incumbents always have a built-in advantage, even if they're not particularly well liked in whatever area they're consistent, whatever their constituency is. And also with the ruling that what South Carolina court says was a racially gerrymandered district, the Supreme Court, as you may remember, decided, nah, it's okay. You can keep this gerrymander. It's totally fine. That makes it even harder for a Democrat to win this district. So maybe he calculated that this would be a bold strategy, might maybe endear him to some moderates, maybe to a lot of independents who are not sure who they're going to vote for, and don't like either candidate on the presidential ticket. So maybe they'll like someone down ballot calling for someone new. Interesting. We'll see how it plays out for him, but it was certainly, sometimes these news is dropped late on a Friday or during a holiday, so it doesn't get as much coverage as it normally would. But at that same point, anybody who was online and saw the announcement were certainly leaving comments and had opinions on it. So it was certainly something that was being talked about. So we'll see how that plays out for him. Again, will it make a difference regardless of what he said? Hard to say. We won't know for a few more months here, but certainly made some waves on 4th of July. And with that, like I said, I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July celebrations. I know depending on how much you pay attention to politics in this country, what side of the aisle you're on, you might have mixed feelings about this day after the Supreme Court rulings. There's been several that have been very disappointing and shocking. I think a lot of people are a little worried about this most recent one where a president has complete immunity for quote unquote official acts, which makes it almost seem like we are less of a democracy and more of a monarchy, just on the face level of looking at that decision. And so I think a lot of people are worried about that, and justifiably so. Will those worries pan out? Will some stuff get worked out to prevent, this ruling? We'll see. But it was, we've seen a lot of memes about how 4th of July was declaring our independence specifically from a country that had a monarchy, and just 2 days before our Independence Day celebration, we're told that the person who's the most powerful person in our country anyway is even more powerful than we thought. They're above the law in some cases. And we always knew that presidents in some capacity were quote unquote above the law. For instance, if they declare war, which involves directing military to murder people. I mean, that's what it is, right? In war, they don't get prosecuted for that. Yes, there's international law, but it's not like if you ordered someone to be murdered, you would be in trouble. You would, so we always knew there's certain things that presidents were allowed to do that weren't legal on the lower scale, but when it comes to wartime and stuff like that. So we knew there was always a little bit of that, but it also this makes it seem like there's a lot more than we thought there should be. The majority of us, it seems. So a little weird footnote, something in the back of some of our minds on this Independence Day. But regardless, still love this country. Still love being here. Love celebrating the great things in its history and what great things it continues to do to this day, despite its faults. Nothing is perfect. And we just keep working to create that better, just the ideal, working closer to that ideal that we all have about this country. It falls short sometimes, but we keep working to, getting closer and closer to what we know it can be. So I hope you had a great 4th of July. I'll talk to you all again next week on Monday. Until then, good night and good luck.